Isn't it fascinating how as you hear these words, something deep inside you begins to shift? Not because you're forcing it, but because transformation happens naturally. When the mind is open, when the heart is ready, when the soul remembers what it's always known. Because strength, real strength, unshakable strength, it's not about fighting or forcing. It's about being. Being the kind of person who stands tall, not because they have to, but because they can. And isn't it interesting how, the moment you realise strength has always been inside you, the struggle disappears. Because strength, it's not about resistance, it's about knowing you will not break. And with that strength comes something even more powerful, compassion. Because true power, it's not in dominance, but in understanding. And you understand deeply. You see beyond the surface, beyond the words, beyond what's said and done, into the unspoken, the unseen. And in that moment, something clicks. Compassion is not weakness. It's the greatest form of strength. Because to care, to truly care, requires bravery. And how does she know? How does she always seem to know the right thing to do? The right step to take, the right words to say? That's intuition. That deep, undeniable knowing that comes not from logic, not from reason, but from something greater. And perhaps, just perhaps, you're starting to notice it more. Maybe you always have. Maybe for the first time in a long time, you're beginning to trust it. And when you trust that knowing, courage becomes effortless. Because courage, it's not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to act anyway. And isn't it funny how, when you look back, the moments that once seemed impossible, they now feel like stepping stones. Because that's what courage does. It transforms fear into movement. And movement is life. And in that movement, she nurtures. Not just others, but herself. Because true nurturing, it's not about giving endlessly, until nothing remains. It's about creating space to grow, to heal, to breathe. And isn't it powerful to realise that nurturing is not just an act of kindness, it's an act of power. Because when you nurture, you create life, you create change, you create possibility. And from that space, wisdom arises. Not the kind of wisdom that comes from books or teaching, but the kind of wisdom that's lived, that's earned. The kind of wisdom that looks at every challenge, every struggle, every moment of doubt and says, this was my teacher. And maybe, just maybe, you're beginning to see it now. That every moment of your life, it's led you here, to this realization, to this knowing. And when she moves with that wisdom, passion ignites. Because passion, it's not just about what you do. It's about who you are. It's fire, energy, the unstoppable force that turns dreams into reality. And isn't it interesting how, the moment you stop hesitating, stop second-guessing, stop waiting for permission, the world opens up. And what happens when a person moves with passion and integrity? That's when everything shifts. Because integrity, it's not about rules. It's not about obligation. It's about alignment. The moment when what you say, what you do, and what you believe all resonate with the deepest, truest part of you. And when that happens, people notice, they feel it, they're drawn to it. And maybe that's why, when she empowers herself, she empowers others. Because empowerment, it's not about talking. It's about awakening. Awakening the strength, the courage, the brilliance that's always been inside. And maybe even now, you're beginning to feel it. And perhaps that's why she feels so deeply connected to herself, to others, to the earth beneath her feet. Because she knows now. She's not separate from the world. She's a part of it. And with that knowing, something shifts. She sees the beauty, the balance, the wisdom in nature. And she moves into harmony with it. And isn't it interesting how, the moment you recognise your connection to everything, you feel stronger than ever. And with that strength comes something equally important, boundaries. The ability to say yes fully. And no without guilt. To know where you end and others begin. Because boundaries, they're not walls, they're doors. And only you get to decide who walks through. And in that space, creativity thrives. Because you're no longer weighed down by fear, by hesitation, by limitation. Imagination expands, ideas flow, possibilities emerge. Because creativity, it's not just about art. It's about the way you live, the way you shape your world, the way you see something that doesn't yet exist and bring it to life. And isn't it fascinating how even now, something's awakening inside you, not because you're forcing it, because it's always been there, just waiting, and now it's time, isn't it?